Hello and welcome to your boy Two Does the Most, but Do the Most podcast, guys, where we talk weekly about different topics. Man, we branched out of gaming and went into just what's on my mind of the week. These are recorded a week in advance, so what we're gonna our little intro it'll be a week late. But anyways, we're gonna do a little check in. How are you?
Good. It's been a long week, getting back into the groove of things and routines from Snowmageddon that happened. We had 2 full weeks of at home schooling with the kids, so that was
Yeah, that
hard
was
to get back in routine, but routines are good.
yeah. That snow had us locked in, literally. It really did. My check in. By the time this comes out, I'll already have been had a Holter monitor on my heart. Heart rate's been all over the place. It stays pretty slow. I'm pretty active as far as exercise goes, but with the bradycardia, which is what a slow heart rate's called, I felt drained and also anxious. So I don't know, guys. It just don't always feel good. Actually, most of the time, I don't feel good, and just trying to work through that and try not to worry too much. But today's topic, guys, I know you clicked on it because of the title. I want to start with, I was going to say a moment of silence, but really, I want to get into two big quotes from the late Martin Luther King Jr. And the first one goes as is. We must learn to live together as brothers and sisters or perish together as fools. Did you hear that? Let me read that again. We must learn to live together as brothers and sisters or perish together as fools. Another quote from him that is just as good. The time is always right to do what is right. That means no matter the time, no matter that means no matter the era, the time of day, you put a stamp of time on it. It's always a time to do right, and I think this our world has lost sight of that, lost sight of Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. Um, we have literally been propagandized to hate. Now, I want to preface this podcast episode with this is not a political um, podcast. We're not a political podcast. We aren't. Watch our last past episodes. We're not a political podcast, but I do feel like I don't know. It just hit me today because I literally come up with these topics just off the top of my head. Whatever hits me first, I go with. But I think it needs to be talked about because I think so many have been indoctrinated. And I know that word gets thrown around a lot in religious communities, but it goes beyond. Like indoctrination doesn't have to be religious. It can be political. It can be spiritual. It can be um, it can be literal, just like indoctrinating somebody into just like propaganda is. Like I said, propaganda, believing propaganda, and weaponizing words and weaponizing things against people. Recently, everybody knows the Epstein files got released. Personally, they've been known about this for years. I would say years, and nothing had been done about it. I don't really care. I do think the people that have done the bad things should get arrested, whoever it is, if it's incriminating and there's enough evidence against someone you should get arrested. It's just point blank. If you do wrong, you've got to pay up, and I don't mean money. Money shouldn't be able to buy your way out into freedom because money is ultimately it means nothing now. It's not backed by gold, and even if it was, is there a price on morality? Really, is there enough gold to cover your sins, so to speak? I mean, I don't think so. One, gold and morality don't run hand in hand, guys. But I do want to touch on something real quick before we dive a little deeper into what, because it's titled "This World Needs Help," and we're both going to give our own view on what the perfect world would look like. Um, and but I do want to get onto something real quick, and I hope some people really hear me out and not view this as an attack or view it as, I don't know, me picking a side, so to speak, because I really don't want that to happen. That's not the case. I just want it to be known because it just seemed so many people seem to be blind to it because of who they follow. We're in a era where we look up to people with money, and really, you shouldn't take advice from anybody that you don't know personally. Honestly, you shouldn't. You shouldn't be taking advice from some celebrity that lives a lavish lifestyle while you work 10, 9, 8 to 12 hours a day, 6, 5, 6, 7 days a week, from somebody that never goes out and sweats, never goes out and clocks in and out, never has to deal with all the kids and, cleaning house chores and, swamped with debt and all that. You shouldn't listen to somebody that cannot relate to you in your life. You know what I mean? That's just being real. Just being real. But here's where I want to get at. People these days think, I'm going to go on both sides real quick. People think that if you're a conservative, and there are some on each side. That's the crazy thing. Not everybody is on each side, is this. But people so the left thinks that if you're a conservative, the liberals think if you're conservative, that you're a racist, that you're homophobic. They'll even go as far, the extremists will even go as far as to call you a Nazi. Yet you don't see us building concentration camps and sending people into gas chambers like Adolf Hitler did. It's not true. On the flip side, the right wing, the conservatives, think everybody that's on the left, the liberals, that they are a part of the gender, the gender movement, the LGBT. I'm gonna butcher it. Sorry, guys. Letters put together in a weird order always mess with me. The LGBT plus IA community, whatever it's called these days, they think that you're a part of that community. They believe that you want to destroy the country. A lot of them think you have a small or a very narrow or little to no moral compass, that you literally got a mind virus. And I do truly believe that not all of the left has that ideology. It's not a one size fits all. And with saying that on both sides, we need to look back at Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote. We must learn to live together as brothers and sisters or perish together as fools, guys. Listen, I'm using a black man's words because I'm not a racist. I believed in what he was talking about back in the day. He got shot for his beliefs too. He got shot for his beliefs. Y'all hate what so many people, maybe not you watching this video, but so many people hate the truth, or at least goodness, and love what is bad. They love violence. They love chaos. People, not everybody. This is not for everybody, but for those extremists, it's not much different than the terrorist regimes out there in the Middle East. And I just believe that not everybody's that way. Just because you vote a certain way doesn't make you all these things. But I will say that we need to live together in harmony, or we will eventually suffer collapse. And I think some people do want that. I don't know why. We live in a freer country than most, and yet people still want to be radicalized, want to be violent in the streets, and then wonder why some officer, and it ain't even an officer, the last thing that happened with the petty thing, it was actually a military, National Guard. So they're trained a lot different than the police academy, one, and I'm not saying what was done was right. In that case scenario, that was a freak accident. Really, when someone yells gun, that's all I'm going to say. So when someone yells gun, those military are going to act, man. They've seen war, they've seen violence. I hate what happened. I hate killing. I'm a hippie at heart, and I've always been that way. It just has grown on me as I've aged. But we have to stop. People don't understand peaceful protest anymore. So I want to get into this, guys. things you could do back in the 50s all the way to 80s. 50s to 80s was probably the best era of the US, really. You used to be able to not have to lock your house door. You could leave your house unlocked and leave and come back with everything there. That's a literal thing. You ask your parents if they're around that age, uh, baby boomers and some Gen Xers. Uh, you used to be able. My dad did this when I worked at Grupo. He used to leave his keys in his red BMW. You used to be able to leave your keys in your ignition, leave it unlocked. Now you can't. Children were used to be allowed to roam the streets unsupervised. Kids would go out riding on bikes, playing kickball, whatever the kids did. Now kids have to be heavily supervised. There's actually a Christian camp in Missouri. I forget what it's called, but they have been caught molesting children. It's terrible. Um, we can't even entrust our kids to go someplace safe that's claimed to be safe, like a Christian youth camp. Yes, I'm calling them out because somebody else did, and you ain't gonna sue me because I don't have any money. But this things that are done in the dark are so bad. You used to be able to trust community interactions. Now you've got to look over your back, over your shoulder. I believe. Back in the day, there was fewer cameras, fewer security measures. There's so many schools these days that have metal detectors. You have to wear a see-through backpack. I remember going to school. I think there was maybe 1 year where we had to wear see-through backpacks, but for the most part, you could wear a normal backpack. There wasn't no metal detectors. Because I'm 32 years old, I'll be 33 this year. I was a '93 baby, guys. um, and honestly, I just miss the days before the modern technological era. Before Facebook, before even MySpace, Facebook, TikTok, X, which was formerly known as Twitter. Um, all of them. I could go through it. Snapchat. I could name them all, guys, but you know what I'm saying. Instagram. Um, but we're going to go into, I guess, the bread and butter of the episode. But I want to reiterate, I'm going to say it again, guys. Martin Luther King said, "We must learn to live together as brothers and sisters or perish together as fools." People get this twisted. There is one race. There's one race, and guess what it is? Newsflash, guys. It's the human race. Now, are there, I guess you could say, subspecies within the race? Sub meaning, a branch of the species of the race? Sure. Like, okay, yes, there are white people, there's black people, there's Latino people, there's Asian people, and a little bit in between, like the Middle Easterns, you would say technically Asian, but there's that Middle East part of the world too. Um, but I just think that we've lost sight of that. We like to divide each up in color, in societal groups. We're given a name at birth, we're given a religion to follow when we grow up, or the lack of a religion, but usually a religion because most of the world follows a major religion. We're given a religion, we're given a way to believe, a way to think because of our parents, and it keeps getting passed down and passed down and passed down and diluted and watered down and changed and twisted, and people's views and hatred gets funneled down into the next generations. And I hope I see the day, or not see the day, especially if it grows darker. But I hope to see the day where the younger generation sees through the BS of what is being fed into the next generations from these evil people, whoever they may be. I don't have a list of names because I don't keep up with people like that. But what? So the world needs help, obviously, right? Well, we're on the cusp of wars, insecurity of nations, people taking over nations, or at least attempting to. A lot of chaos in the world, a lot of uncertainty, and we're going to get into each having a moment of Mine's probably going to be longer. You're allowed to talk as long as you like, you know. She always like, and then done. I'm sorry, guys. I tell her she can take the stage for as long as she likes. She can take it for as long as she likes, guys. I'm not the star of the show. This is a co-hosted podcast, and while we're not a fancy podcast with 10 cameras and 4K UHD, we do like to talk about things beyond just Fortnite. We love Fortnite. Or at least I do. I love Fortnite, and I love gaming. Man, I've been gaming since the PS1. But this has to be talked about, man. This has to be talked about. The world needs help, and we need to. It starts with you. They always used to say like, "Oh, your vote don't count. My vote don't count," and that's why so many people wouldn't vote. But right now, guys, want your actions. You by doing right today, the next right thing, can domino effect into the next person. Making somebody smile today could help somebody make the next person smile, and so on and so forth. So your actions do have a ripple effect across humanity. If we could have everybody believe that and follow that, the world would drastically change. Drastically, and not theoretically, it would. If everybody lived a certain way, and not they don't it doesn't have to everybody doesn't have to live exactly the same way. But if we would take on and see each other as an extension of ourself, increase our awareness outside of our 3 to 6 foot personal bubble, so to speak, and stop being offended about everything that we hear, we see, that we would become a better race of humans, I believe. But I'm going to let my wife start with the question. Since the world needs help, in your eyes, what does your perfect world look like? Or maybe not perfect, but what would a better world look like in your eyes?
Well, I think I'm going to kind of break this question down more so to what are the actions or what do I think that like we can actually do to be better. Because I think it's real easy to kind of get caught up in the world sucks, and so there's nothing really I can do about it, and so I'm just going to sit and not be a part of the solution instead of just sitting in the problem. Honestly, y'all, we've got to get back to talking to each other. Um, Phones, social media, news outlets, they're telling us what to think instead of actually living in community and neighborhoods and being that friendly face. I'm sorry, but a news anchor is not going to come to your house when a parent has died or when you've had a miscarriage or any of those things. It's us. It's the people in your circle, in your neighborhood, in your community that are going to help pick up the pieces. And we've lost sight of that because we're no longer seeing people as the genuine people that they are. They're the labels or the stereotypes, just because that's what the news and social media and TikTokers and that's what they're telling us to see and telling us to believe. And we've got to get past the keyboard warrior. This is the right thing to do. No, step out and be that neighbor, be that friend, be the person, be the change you want to see. It's not up to someone else. It's not up to the person who's president, whether it's you like them or you don't like them. It's up to us to be that change. Um, I don't know. We've got to get back to the people. Like, we've lost sight of that. And if we don't fix that, we can't even talk about a perfect world. Um,
We'll perish together as fools, as Martin
yeah.
Luther King says.
I mean, really, his quote literally sums it up. We've got to be brothers and sisters to each other. Yeah. And the hate, like, we are individuals. We are unique. Like, just because somebody doesn't think identical to you does not mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean that they're completely flawed or yes, we all have room to grow. We all have room to grow.
I do.
We've just got to get back to loving people.
Yeah. Hey, whether you hate this or not, so I'm going to quote 2 more people, and this is not on my itinerary to talk about, but Jesus said 2 things. I know there's the 2 greatest commandments, but there's one commandment that he expounds on in the Bible. Whether you believe it or not, I'll actually go to another person. So if you hate Jesus, there's another guy you would probably hate a little less. But regardless, Jesus said to love your neighbor. And your neighbor is not just the guy you live next to. That's anybody that you come in contact with is your neighbor. He also went further, and this is even harder, man. It's going to get me a little emotional. To love your enemy, guys. To love your enemy. To do good to those that hate you. That wasn't a request from Jesus. That was a command, guys. That was a command. Another thing, Sadhguru, a very well-known mystic yogi that is alive today right now as we speak. I mean, he could die any day. We all could. But he's currently alive, Sadhguru. I'm trying to finish his book about death. But Sadhguru has even said that if I'm going to give you kind of two kind of quotations I've watched him say. He has said, if you can see somebody in the moment, you can find the good in anyone. And that's deep. You might have to ponder on that. You might have to write that down, dial it back on the YouTube and rehear me say that. But if you can see somebody good in the moment, meaning right now, just in the moment, you can find good in them somewhere. You can find good. Another thing he had talked about in front of people, I think it was like a New Year's thing, after he had done some kind of like funny song that was actually very peaceful to me. He talked about expanding your awareness. If our awareness is as big as a 3 to 6 foot bubble, we only think about ourselves and then what we're told to think. But if you increase your awareness out to the size of a city, all of a sudden everybody becomes you. And now you start caring about people because you're aware of them. You're aware of their feelings. You're aware of other people. You know, I don't know. We've put up walls against people because we have been told to, instead of seeing other people as an extension. And there's a word popular now. It gets thrown around more often, and it's less authentic than it used to be. But sonder. To sonder means to realize that other people are living as much as a vivid life as you are. I feel like a lot of people feel like other people are NPCs. For any gamer, that means non-playable character. We have people with souls, man, dying. People are part of slave trades that are still active. People part of terrible things. But there's still good in the world. There's still good in the world. So I'm gonna go real quick through my perfect world, and I do have a perfect world ideology. I wish it would get followed, but who knows? The first thing I wrote was pretty obvious. I wrote in the parentheses. I'll share what I wrote too. But the end of hate, and it's kind of rebounding off of what my wife said. We got to end the hate, guys. I don't know what the hate's about. The beef that just materialized at the turn of the century, especially. But we have to get rid of the hate in our hearts and our minds towards others. We're not going to live forever on this earth. And what we do on this earth does matter. It does count. But hate, what is there to gain from hating someone? Just think about it for a second, literally. What is there to gain that is positive from hating someone? Nothing. It actually increases stress, animosity. It creates division. People stop talking, like my wife says, and you just start making assumptions of people, of groups of people. You just group people in, even if you don't know them. So I say end hate. The end of suffering. Now, I don't want to get too philosophical and deep with this, because I think there's a lot of unnecessary suffering in the world that maybe God could have done a different way, but he didn't. And I'm not going to sit here and give my deeper viewpoint on that. But the suffering that we could end, such as, the suffering that we put on other people, like the hate, the attacking people. We should not be attacking people, verbally or physically. Into suffering, we should stop the groups, the rich, the elite, and it goes beyond that, because, like I said, there is a Christian youth camp, I think in Missouri. I forget the name of it, but they have been documented as molesting children. That needs to end. No child should have to go through being sexually molested. That is probably the worst thing you can do as a human being. Um, we should stop projecting our negative self onto others. We should start digging deeper inside of ourselves and looking that we're flawed as human beings and not projecting it onto other people. Because really, what we're doing is projecting ourselves and our views on others versus um, seeing people through, I'm not going to say rose-colored glasses, but seeing people for who they really are, just trying to find the good in everything, which can be hard. But the end of suffering, man, the end of war, the end of division, also less government. A lot of people want to complain like, "Oh, government shutdown, government shutdown." All Trump's trying to do is what a lot of people agree with is less government. He's gotten rid of a lot of federal employees because of less government. That's more money for the taxpayers. Now a lot of people say, "Well, no, too. He's spending it on military. He's spending it on other things." He's at least trying. Trump is in the right direction. Now I'm not going to say who I support, and because it doesn't matter on a grand scale. They only give us two, really, three if you add the Libertarian Party, but they only give us a couple people to pick from. And I've only voted once. And I promised myself I'd never vote again for the mere fact that both sides both have their flaws. And these days, it's if you're on one, you're an enemy of another. So I just don't want to take part in it. Another thing, we need true freedom, guys. And that doesn't mean, you say some bad threats or say something bad or do something bad and be free of the consequences, but true freedom that you don't feel like you're constrained in your life in any way, aspect, or form, such as, I don't know, oh man, I'd love to do this. I'd love to go learn how to, uh, I don't know, name the insert hobby there, but I have to go work my 12-hour shift to be able to afford paying the light bill, the utility bill, rent, or the house payment, my car payment, my insurance, the kids, food, clothes, all that, and taxes. Freedom, man, freedom to be able to live in freedom, and what that looks like, that could get hairy because there's so much stuff. We live in a free country, but it could be freer, man. It could be freer, and I may make podcast episode just on the freedom aspect of it, because we do. Why does everybody want to come to this country so bad if they hate this country? We have a lot more freedoms than most other countries out there. Another one, which is really my main one, guys, is to live in harmony with your fellow humans, man. And that ultimately should result in peace, to live in harmony, to understand that we're all different, and to be okay with that difference. That we don't have to agree on everything to love each other. I think that's crazy. Like, people these days, like, if you don't agree, now it's like we're sworn enemies. We're arch enemies. That was not the case 40 years ago. Why is it now? Because, I think it's funny. I'm going to use a Kendrick Lamar quote from a famous song. Literally, turn your TV off. He's like, turn your TV off, turn your TV off, turn your TV off. He's trying to tell you, turn that boob tube. I know they're flat screens now, and it's beautiful screen. You almost look like you can jump through the TV, but turn your television off. Get off your phone for a few hours a day and go touch the grass. Maybe lick it. I don't care if somebody makes fun of you. Go lick the grass. Do you even know what grass smells like anymore? Or have you been too far into the concrete jungle and the asphalt jungle? Go touch some grass, guys. And I just think that was ultimately everything. But to live in harmony means, okay, you don't agree with somebody, move on. Don't hold resentments towards somebody over it. Life's too short to hold resentments, because I've said this to my wife and my brother and some other people. Life is so fast. You'll think I'm crazy. Snap your fingers and you'll be on your deathbed. Now, you'll do that and you'll be like, well, I'm not on my deathbed yet, O2. But you'll see what I'm talking about on your deathbed. You'll remember that snap of your fingers and how quick. I remember being in middle school thinking I'd never make it to 30. Snap my fingers. Now I'm 32, about to be 33 in August. Think about how fast that went. For me, it went fast. It went very fast. And that's what I mean by that. Snap your fingers, you'll be on your deathbed. So, in saying that, I needed to make, this just hit my head today instead of like, oh, let me try to look up topics. No, these hit my head, and I really, because my brain a lot of time runs overactive, but that helps when I need an idea. But in saying that, man, we should live in harmony. We should live in love. To value others, people's differences, because differences actually mean strengths. We can expound on people's differences and create strengths in stronger knit communities, because of if we use each other's strengths, we could be unstoppable, and not in a military sense, but in a unity sense. And I will end it with Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote one more time for you guys. So if you didn't hear it the first time, I'm going to get it in your subconscious like a hypnotist. But really, I mean, if you say something long enough, you'll believe it. Promise. In your head or out of your mouth. So, in saying this, guys, but thank you for watching the podcast. If you made it this far, please drop a like. Consider subscribing. And mainly a Fortnite gaming channel, but I felt deep, compelling to make this episode. In ending, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "We must learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or perish together as fools." Let that be your mantra. Let that be your meditation today. Thank you so much for watching. You already know O2 does the most. See you guys in the next podcast.